The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Open your eyes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open Your Eye. We are a video podcast, the first on our network here at paceradio.net. First video podcast focused on psychedelics, branching out at the Cannabis Network into a brand new realm. Psychedelics is all the rage, and we've got two patients in myself and my joint host extraordinaire, Miss Cindy Howell, joining us today. And we're going to have a great discussion with a rather large group today, Cindy.
Yeah. Multiple guests this evening. It's very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. We've got the lawyers in the house. Two lawyers, very great personal friends of mine and great people in our community, fighting the good fight for those using cannabis as well as psychedelic medicines for medical purposes. Mr. Paul Lewin is in the house along with Jack Lloyd man. Great guys, and they've brought along their clerk, Henria Stephens is with us, and Section 56 Section 56 psilocybin exemptee, Alison Myrden is with us. Alison, on a side note, is a former joint host here at Pace Radio. She used to join us as a joint host on the Pace Radio show many years ago, so it's great to have Alison joining us. But before we get to our guest tonight, Cindy and I are going to have a little discussion about a news story that's been lots of talk about this one coming up. Stuff is going on in the city of Toronto.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting, actually. I'm just going to come back here. Clicking buttons.
Toronto,
clicking buttons. Waiting for everything to catch up with me. Toronto seeks federal exemption to decriminalize drug use as opiate overdose rises. The city wants Health Canada to grant exemption that changes drug laws in Toronto. It's it's being done elsewhere, and it's helping. By the end of the day, Toronto will be one step closer towards requesting federal government decriminalize drug possession in the city. Following a similar move by Vancouver, Toronto is preparing to ask Health Canada for an exemption under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act that would decriminalize the possession of all drugs for personal use. The city has been gathering feedback from Torontonians on the plan for several months, and Monday is the last day to fill out a survey on the issue. After that, the city will finalize and submit its request to Ottawa.
Yeah, interesting stuff. It's not the first time that we've seen this happen. Of course, Toronto and other municipalities, as well as provinces, territories, and other nations around the world are all looking to Portugal. The Portugal model is what people are looking at and following. They did the decrim over there, and their issues with addiction, with drug abuse, death and hospitalizations over addiction have plummeted since they made this a health issue rather than a legal issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It takes away the stigma that people are suffering with legalities, and, it takes away a lot of fear at that point in time.
That's right. Services now, what they're doing is, it's not just going to be, oh, okay, it's open market. It's not like that.
No, not at all. And currently, Toronto Public Health is working with various health stakeholders to develop the details of the submission, which we anticipate coming.
I got booted. I'm
I think
back.
I lost Kim.
It's because, services for health are offered rather than going to jail. So that's the big difference there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And currently, Toronto Public Health is working with various stakeholders to develop the details of that submission, which we anticipate coming forward later in the fall, says Board of Healthcare Joe Cressy in an interview last week. The urgency to decriminalize is increasing as the number of suspected overdoses and overdose-related deaths grows, he says. Overdose numbers are the highest since data records began, and that's really scary. Data from August 2021 shows Toronto Paramedic Services received 689 calls for non-fatal subsequent opioid overdoses, which is a major jump from the previous month, and more than double the numbers recorded just 1 year before that in August 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's astounding how out of control it is, and it's a huge issue. Opiate addiction is a huge issue in Toronto and across the globe. I, for one, applaud this move by the city, and I'd like to see it expanded upon in other municipalities.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sitting down here in Nova Scotia, and, by population, we're smaller, but we still have the same issues. And to do this for the population down here would just be amazing. It would help so many people in the long run.
Absolutely. Encouraging story, and it encompasses the world of psychedelic drugs. So I mean, in effect, this move within the city of Toronto could also benefit patients that don't necessarily have a Section 56 and are microdosing or macrodosing along the way. Less fear about carrying or having that product with you is another spinoff to this.
It's a very, very large spinoff, and not just with psilocybin. There are other psychedelics that we're using for medicine, and there's fear around all of it. Like, I mean, do we use this, and the consequences if we get caught? But the benefits of the psychedelic medication is so great that, like, I mean, for me personally, it was highly worth the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, patients are fighting for the right to medicate, and that is being encompassed in this all-encompassing law that the city of Toronto is now looking at for decriminalization of all drugs.
Yeah, it's very exciting for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The story goes on. We talk about Dr. Rita Shahan. She describes a number of factors that have contributed to spiking overdose numbers in the city, including increasing toxic drug supply. She and other health experts describe a worsening crisis, playing out over the course of the pandemic and in the years leading up to it, compounded since March 2020 by isolation, reduced capacity at harm reduction programs, and increasingly toxic drug supplies due to border closures and subsequent supply chain interruptions. Last year in 2020, we saw an 80% increase in overdose deaths, and the numbers just continue to increase. So, I mean, it's really a great thing, on so many fronts that Toronto's taking a look at this. Vancouver has looked at this, and if the rest of Canada could follow suit, I think it would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully this gets expanded upon, and it goes further than the city of Toronto.
Yes, yes, I agree. The story does go on for a bit there. You are more than welcome to go have a look at it. They do bring up Vancouver later on. So yeah, very interesting and very exciting to see this happen in Toronto. Oh, I think Kim's having a little bit of difficulty. She will pop back here in just a second. We do have some technical difficulties going on this evening, and I apologize. But they seem to fix themselves within a few moments, and Kim pops right back in. So welcome back, Kim.
Yeah, lots of glitches, lots of technical problems on my end, that's for sure. I came, and it's funny, you know, I came to a friend's place where there's more stable internet than there is at my farm. And I did that for the show tonight. And lo and behold, I get here and the internet in this building is down. So here I am sitting here on data on my phone. I should have stayed home and my internet would have probably worked better at the farm than my data is working in this town. So there you go. I can't freaking win for losing. That's all there is to it. I'm doing the best I can. I will probably get booted out frequently throughout the show. And I'll be right back if and when it happens.
Absolutely. Oh,
so
my.
yeah, and for me on my end, just so everybody is aware and on the same page, if I step on somebody that's talking, if I interrupt them or something like that, it's because of my glitches, and I do apologize in advance for any times that may happen. It's the feed catching up, and I'm not knowing that somebody else is talking, and I'm going to wind up diving in with a question or a query of some sort. So I'm going to apologize in advance for any of that sort of thing that happens throughout tonight's interview. And it's going to get pretty busy because we've got 4 guests in the house with us tonight. 4, and all spectacular people that have much to say on legalities and exemptees and use of psychedelic therapy, psychedelic plants and fungi as a medicine. So let's get right to it and start bringing in our guests. I'm going to start off with my personal friend, Mr. Jack Lloyd is in the house with us tonight. Let's bring Jack in.
Hey, how are you doing?
Really well. Really well. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited to participate and have fun with you guys today.
We're really excited to have you in, Jack. Absolutely. Yeah, it's an honor to have all 4 of you in.
You guys kept saying that my video was fuzzy, and I was laughing because this is like the once a year I shave my beard, and I'm like as clean shaven as I've ever been. I was like, oh, come on, it's like the only time I'm not fuzzy.
Oh, Kim's gone again for half a second. We'll be going through this for probably most of the evening, folks. I apologize. I hear her clicking back in now. Yeah, no, we're really excited to have you come along, Jack. The work that you're doing in psychedelics, I find very interesting. I have just recently gotten into using some psychedelics for medicine myself. I've been microdosing for a while, and I'm really curious about this Section 56. And here's Kim back. And, I've recently discovered a few other psychedelics for mental health therapy. Just as I was when I got into cannabis, I'm like, well, there's got to be a way that this has got to become legal, because it's, the laws around it are quite scary at the moment. Oh, and Jack is muted.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. What I was
No
saying in
worries.
response was we're so fortunate because we've got Henria Stephens, who is an articling student from Paul Lewin's law firm, who worked extensively on a comprehensive Section 56 application. And I will just note that Henria was introduced as Paul Lewin's clerk, and that's not correct. That's just a mistake. She's an articling student, so she's been to law school and is just completing the technical requirements prior to becoming a lawyer. And she's done basically all of the great work on Alison's application. So just in fairness, it's a very different role than a clerk. An articling student performs a very different role than a clerk, obviously.
Yeah.
But all of them are legal professionals, just a different role. And I'm sure Henria will assist us and sort of talk about the Section 56 application that she's worked on. It's of great interest, I think, to a lot of people because the Section 56 program is backlogged significantly. And so when you get really, really solid legal work going into an application like this, it can change the landscape. And there's no one better to talk about Section 50, sort of experientially Section 56 applications than Alison Myrden, who's also on the show and who Henria worked with to do the Section 56 application. So I'm super duper excited for everybody to be on. And as well, of course, Paul Lewin, the lead lawyer on all of the Section 56 applications and litigation that's ongoing. So just we totally have a stacked deck here. So just super exciting.
Yeah. And you've got another,
Awesome.
Kim was telling me are you back?
Well, we should go on and bring Paul in next. Jack did a great job of introducing both the other people at the firm. So let's bring Paul in and then follow up with Henria.
Hey, you guys! Thanks for having me.
Hi, Paul.
Pleased
Thanks
to be
for
here.
coming.
Oh, well, my pleasure. So, I'll just pick up where Jack left off. This is such a perfect timing that we can come on the show and talk about this. This is really we only submitted Alison's application this afternoon. So it's really, there's been a little bit of social media out there, but this is really our first public comments about Alison's application. And so delighted that we can do it with you guys. I'll just say a couple other things about the application. Alison's application, and you guys, she needs no introduction. I mean, she's been around forever. She's still young, of course, but she is like the godmother of cannabis. And I think she had the very first cannabis exemption. Her exemption for psilocybin. So, and you guys probably know this, but just for the audience, most of the exemptions that have been granted so far have been for mental health issues. And if you're facing severe anxiety and depression from end-of-life issues, I can't imagine how brutal that is, and it brings great relief. It's amazing. But Alison she uses it for pain relief, which means she doesn't need it to go in to meet with psychologists and psychotherapists. She needs it all day long, really, every day. So her exemption is kind of like, unlike the other ones that have been granted, she's seeking 50 grams a day. And it may sound like a lot, but I mean, she's got terrible health issues. She's built up a bit of a tolerance. But we see this as a bit of a groundbreaking trailblazer sort of application in which she needs it all the time. And I know she doesn't just need it for a one-off session with a psychotherapist. She needs a lot, and she needs it every day. And so it's kind of special in that respect. And of course, we're so proud to be doing it for someone like Alison. So
Absolutely. That's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, well, hopefully the government's reasonable. As Jack said, they've kind of slowed down a bit on the 56 exemption process. I'd kind of like to see doctors approve it rather than I'd like to see a doctor as gatekeeper rather than like bureaucrat as gatekeeper system. I kind of feel like your doctor has a better sense of what's best for you than the government does. But anyway, that's what we've got right now is the 56 exemption scheme.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you back, Kim? No, she's glitching out. Yeah, so why don't we bring in oh, are you there?
Henria. Yeah, we
Yes.
should bring in Henria now. I was glitching. I caught most of it though.
Okay. Henria, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. What a pleasure.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're the person doing the research and the reading and the putting together and the footwork, a lot of it.
Well, yeah, I certainly put a lot of work into Alison's application, but it was a really great experience. Alison is really inspiring to me. So are my bosses too. They've been great. And just once I found out about her and I heard her story and her experience, it was, I felt like I had to do something and really work as hard as I could for her. And I think we put together a really beautiful application that really spoke to her, and spoke to her right to live without pain. And I hope it's something that can really convince the government that change has to happen. So yeah, it's been a great experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you put that. That was just very beautiful. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh, sorry, Cindy. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Henry has been a very enthusiastic advocate for Alison. I mean, we've had a lot of discussions in the office about how to frame this and whether we should be maybe a little more conservative or cautious and say, although she needs 50 grams a day, should we say it should only be 10 or 5 or 2? Maybe they'll like us better if we say it's only 1. But Henria has been, she said, you know what, this is what Alison needs, and we have to stand up for Alison and make it clear. And maybe Alison will make things better for others through her standing up as well. If Alison's willing to stand up, then we've got to stand up with her.
Well,
absolutely. I mean, you're going to make changes, not just for her, but for everybody coming after her.
Exactly.
And by the way, I'll note one more thing about Alison's application. The exemptions that have been granted so far have only been for simple possession. So that means you can possess it, but there's no discussion about where you're going to get it. So I guess the idea is it's going to fall out of the sky and land in your hands because no one's allowed to give it to you, and you're not allowed to grow it. And so Alison is actually seeking not just possession, but an exemption which would permit her to grow it as well. And she says, look, it doesn't grow around my house. I don't want to have to go to the black market. And by the way, no disrespect to the black market. But Alison's saying, I don't want it unregulated. I want to have control over my medicine. And so Alison's 56 also seeks an exemption to grow as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's really exciting. That's really exciting.
And, courts have said this before, that like long ago in the Hitzig case, the Ontario Court of Appeal said, what good is the right to possess something if you can't get it from anywhere?
Right.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're gonna allow people to have it, you have to give them an avenue to get it, whether you agree with that. If you look at the cannabis system, I mean, whether you agree with the licensed producer system or not, the government has said, okay, yes, you can use it, and here's a system. So they've got to do that with every medication that they allow us, including this one, right?
Exactly. Very well put.
Yes. So why don't we bring in the subject of this 56? We'll wait for Kim to get back in. Hello. We're at the point we're going to bring Alison in, Kim.
Perfect. I changed locations. It's probably fairly dark for me right now. I came out to my car.
Is it, as long as it's working, we can see your face. We've got you.
You're stable. So the signal is more stable out here than it is in the building. I'm going to sit in my car.
Okay. So let's welcome Alison to the discussion. I mean, it's your Section 56 that these beautiful people are fighting for. You must feel so blessed.
You know what, Cindy? I'm so excited. I literally have been doing this for decades, and my whole start decades ago, over 30 years ago, when I was a corrections officer, was to legalize and regulate every substance out there because I worked with young offenders. I went to court almost 5 days a week regularly with the young offenders while their charges were read out, and I could not count how many actually were charged with drug offenses. The only thing that I did in court those 2 days, or those days, pardon me, was stand up and say, Your Honor, drugs do not belong in a court of law. They are a health issue. And
Absolutely.
every single court officer that worked in that area, and police officer and all the staff, etc., who were in the courtroom, all they did was smile and wink and give me a thumbs up. And that was decades ago, because they knew then I meant business. And thank you again all so much for your fabulous words. I did not do this by myself. I am not going to do this by myself ever. It is a joint effort, as Gary Lynch says, and we are all included. Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, Alison, it's great to hear your voice again. Of course, you and I worked together here at the station, at the network, on the show prior to us becoming a network. Alison, of course, was a joint host on the Pace Radio show, the original show that started this entire network of ours at paceradio.net. So it's great to have you on as a guest tonight, Alison, and talk to you about everything that you've been going through since leaving us at the station.
Oh my goodness. You know, Kim, I adore you, my friend. And I, again, just want to thank all your listeners and everybody from around the world who has supported this line of education that I've been traveling down my journey for decades. I just want people to know, again, patients are, again, my main concern. But again, I'm fighting for everybody, because I don't see the sense, I never did, in making something that, you know, God grew or that was put on this planet for, you know, our use illegal. I don't see the sense in that. I can see some regulation and control being needed at times, but certainly not, you know, again, what's been going on the last number of decades.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, forgive me in case this was already covered during my downtime or my glitches, but how long have you had your Section 56, Alison?
26 years, almost 27 for cannabis. So since 1994 for cannabis. Sorry, I became a first legal patient in 1994 through my doctors, and then I got my medical exemption from the government in March 21st, actually, my sister's birthday in 2000.
Nice. So people have been taking advantage of this Section 56 exemption for other things besides what we're seeing taking place today. Of course, Alison, as you say, it started with cannabis. I'm going to throw this over to the law people over there. You know, it's in the news a lot these days about people clamoring to get a Section 56, and it's not just patients. Scientific research and all kinds of things are looking at a Section 56 exemption. Have you guys seen an increase in people looking for this service from you?
Jack, you want to take this?
Sure, I'm happy to. So Paul and I work closely together, and certainly we've seen an increase in interest in Section 56 exemption applications. We worked together on a number of them, including exemption applications for psilocybin for a group in BC that was seeking compassionate access for it. And so historically, you know, those applications, I think, had failed, like that there hadn't really been a successful application for access to psilocybin for medical purposes until the first cohort through the Therasil group received their exemptions. And then when that happened, there was essentially a massive amount of interest in that exemption process. So certainly from a practice perspective for Paul and I, and Henria as well, there was a big increase in phone calls asking about it, and in meetings seeking information about it, and in applications seeking exemptions for it. But I think that there was also what I would describe as a grassroots emergence of Section 56 applications made by patients that might not necessarily have access to a lawyer that can assist them with the application. So I think that's been the largest spike in applications. Generally would be self-represented patients that are seeking access to psilocybin. And my hope is that we have more smart young lawyers like Henria that are coming out, that are able to assist people and have the knowledge and skills like Henria, that are able to sort of help people get these. Because, of course, the formation of your application is of paramount importance, because in the event that it's denied, the basis of your litigation materials is that application, right? So you need to make sure you've got everything in there. Yeah. I apologize, Henria. I have an articling student with a very similar name to you, so I'm going to keep getting them confused. It's a source of
no worries, Jack.
So I'm getting old. But so that's my view. So yes, I guess the short answer is there's a huge spike in people that are interested in Section 56 exemptions. And I think that that's a sign really that A, this substance works and people are interested in interacting with it. And I think B, there's been a large scale failure in the area of pain management and mental health management and symptom management. And people are simply looking for something that may help. And it empirically, the research coming out of Johns Hopkins University is extraordinarily supportive of psilocybin as a substance to treat treatment-resistant depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and smoking cessation, which ultimately has to do at the very start, Kim and Cindy, you were talking about the opiate crisis, which is this horrific man-made crisis. But there's great evidence that psilocybin plays a role in managing addiction behaviors, and that research is quite strong. So I think it's not as if, because I sort of took a little bit of issue when you said lots of people are taking advantage of the Section 56 exemption process. And I don't think that's necessarily the best description. Like
poor choice of words.
No. I think it's a completely natural choice of words. You've done exactly what the government wants, which is to say, oh, look, I can use this government program to get this stuff I want. But that's not the issue. The issue is that there's a necessity for it, and the government has instituted a faulty escape valve here. So, like, we're using this escape valve, but the reality is that proper regulation is really the future on this. So,
absolutely,
I don't take issue with your choice of words. I think that it's a pure expression of what the federal government wants with the exemption process. I just think that at its core, that's a problem. And that problem, you see it through the special access program. Like, you see it in basically all of the exemption programs that are available for these substances, when the core problem ultimately is prohibition. Like, that's so that anyway, that's my long-winded response. I could have just said, there's more of them, Kim, but that's my view of this. And of course we've lost Paul, and Paul was the captain of the boat that got those very first psilocybin exemptions, and now we've lost him to our technology apocalypse here. But that's
hopefully he chimes back in, and we'll be able to re-add him to the feed once he gets back in, because I definitely want to hear more from Paul. Paul was a mentor for you, Jack, as well. You know, when I first met you, you were working for Paul out of his office, and you weren't yet a lawyer. You were still in law school.
Answer the phones, and then I would shovel the snow at the front walkway.
Yeah. And that's where I got my first introduction with Jack. And then I met Paul afterwards, and then the whole gang there. And what a ride it's been, that's for sure. And then, of course, hooking up with Alison and Al Graham here at the network, and then, at the show, Pace Radio Show, and then creating this network. And now here we all are talking about psychedelic therapy instead of cannabis. And this is, Cindy and I are both psychedelic patients, and that's why we started this show. We're both in different places with using psychedelics as medicine. Both of us for similar but different reasons. And we're both taking different approaches. So we thought, let's come together and talk to other people in this space and see what everybody's doing, and see if we can grow this evolution and open people's minds to the idea that plant-based therapy goes well beyond cannabis, and psychedelics need to have recognition now the way cannabis did 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
Kim, I have to say something. First of all, in the medical realm, people have to be aware anywhere in the world, your doctor works for you. So
yes.
You do not need permission from your doctor. All your doctor has to do is know about the fact that you're consuming whatever it is you're consuming, or, using, or whatever it is, whatever terminology you want to use. Yeah. Bottom line, if you prefer a different substance than the pills that they've offered you, then tell your doctor. That's where it starts. From that forward, chart exactly what you're doing with your substance, how it's helping you, how long it helped you, how much you need, all of those sorts of things, and how you're feeling throughout. I did that for decades with every substance I've ever been given, or anything that's not a pill. So, and I've tried many natural substances, from raw opium. Again, I was authorized. Doctors at one point years ago, decades ago, were giving me heroin and cocaine. I had to go to the hospital 3 times a week, and get cocaine, little tiny spoonfuls of it. I'd lay on a gurney, and they'd shove this tiny spoonful of cocaine up my nose to the nerve center at the top. Speaking of legalizing and regulating all drugs, we have been after the police in Canada. I have specifically been literally causing trouble with a capital T, because we need to end this now. Jack is right. This is no longer about all of these other issues we make it about. We need to end prohibition today and end the war on people.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we've got Paul back.
We've got Paul back, yeah.
Excellent. Great. I'm glad you could rejoin us, Paul, and I hope your signal stays stable there.
I will just note, actually, having worked for Paul for years, I just note Alison is absolutely right about a physician's role. I will just note that what Alison is saying flows from what was Section 56 of the narcotic control regulations. And so the narcotic control regulations had its own Section 56 regarding practitioner-based possession issues. And I will just note that and so Alison is referring to it prior to the repeal of that provision, which was in late 2010. But it does still hold true that there's a very serious role for a physician to play in an individual's access methodology. I got to be a lawyer. I got to be a lawyer.
You got to be a lawyer, Jack. We know. Paul, I want to push over to you for a sec. What can you tell us about challenges that are before the courts right now? Any information on that regarding, decriminalization or legalization or expanding on Section 56 use for psychedelic therapy?
Oh, well, there's if there's anything I want to talk about, it is Jerry Martin and some doctors and some researchers, some very smart people have formed this company called Mind Tech. And,
yes, we had Jerry on 2 weeks ago.
Oh, perfect! Nice.
Yes.
And so they're going to be bringing an application under freedom of thought. So what this is this is not about someone who's got terrible depression or anxiety or got awful health issues like Alison struggles with. This is for everybody who uses psychedelics to try and.
Oh, he froze again. Yeah.
I'm back. I'm glad because I'm really pumped about this subject. This is for everybody who uses psychedelics, whether it's for mindfulness or creativity or peace or compassion.
It's letting those thoughts get too free, man. It's blowing the network connection.
Mindfulness, peace, and compassion. Hopefully we get him back to finish that little spiel he's excited about. While we're waiting for you, are you reloaded, Paul?
Yes.
Are you with us? All right.
I'm with you.
Paul, I love that. What section of the charter? Is it section 2 of the charter?
Section 2, yes. Freedom of thought is so underused. We've never had a freedom of thought case in Canadian law.
Wow.
It's always been freedom of expression if there's freedom of thought like issues. And freedom of thought, by the way, is a really cool charter right because it's essentially, it's really, many say it's the most important of all our rights. It's our rights to think what we want to think. And I think of psychedelics as, of course, that's not freedom of thought itself, but it's like the printing press to freedom of expression. That it's a tool that allows us to take advantage of this right.
That's a good point.
I 100% believe that psychedelics can bring freedom of thought because up until I did, a heavy psychedelic in July, I didn't have freedom of my own thought, and now I do. So they gave me my freedom of thought. And that just blew my mind when you said that, to be honest.
Nice.
Yeah.
And, it resonates with so many people.
Yeah.
That and so this is going to be big. And I mean, there's been so much planning. If anybody's interested in this, they should contact Jerry about the case or contact me. I mean, lots of people are involved. So,
well, hopefully your phone starts ringing off the hook by tomorrow after today's show. So anybody that wants, that is looking at using or is currently using psychedelics as a medicine should get in on this then, right?
Well, so this is a little different than using it as a medicine. This is for really people who use it for their own personal reasons, freedom of thought related reasons. So and there's so many different, it's like, I can't even list them all because there's so many. I mean, some say spiritual reasons. I can't imagine anybody who's had experience with psychedelics and can't tell me that this is not something special, something big and special.
Yes.
Yes, it so is.
When I do this work, it might sound a little crazy, but I really feel like I'm doing God's work when I'm doing this kind of work.
You
You
are.
are, Paul.
You are. You are.
Yeah.
You very much are. And no matter what God that may be to whatever individual, whether it be the God of Mother Earth or Mother Nature or the God up in the sky or whatever name you want to give it, it is definitely a higher calling, and pun intended, absolutely.
Huh.
Now I want to go to Henria for a quick sec. For patients, okay, say patient, take me. Let's use me. That's always a good example. Let's use myself. I use psychedelics as a medicine currently. I self-medicate. I'm self-taught. I'm on my own journey. If I wanted to take the next step and apply for a Section 56, but I'm not the kind of person that feels capable of doing this on my own. Say I give you a call. What do we do from there after I call you?
Well, we could talk about it a bit. I'm not a lawyer as yet, so I can't actually give you legal advice. That'll come in the new year. But we would certainly start to talk about the history and your experience, your connection to the plant, maybe what else you've used in the past. We talk about your journey, the benefits, the drawbacks, the risk, access. I think some of the things that, we've touched on before about what's preventing you from maybe having a full experience. And I guess from my standpoint, really, we talk about harm reduction, but it's also about how it can benefit the person, holistically. I think psychedelics, psilocybin specifically, is really a beautiful earth-derived substance, and it really, it's something that I think once people experience it, you want to share it and you want to advocate so that other people can have that experience as well. It tells people about love and life and relationships, and it takes away, I guess, me a bit emotional because I'm very excited about psychedelics. But all that to say that I think people's personal experience are very important to actually express in a Section 56 application, because every person is different and very unique. And so, like Alison is a perfect example of someone who, the regular dose of psychedelics doesn't benefit her, but why should that negate her ability to have medication that works for her? I think we have to look at individuals and see how we can make people happy and whole and actually be more productive in our society. And with access to a Section 56 exemption, at least at a beginning point, we can move towards having more people benefiting from that access. So yeah, for me personally, it's really about the individual experience, the individual story. I think that's really important to highlight, because psychedelics is very different for each person and why they use it. So when I've been interacting with Alison, it's really just so that I can express her voice to the government and let them be a part of her journey. Because if you hear about Alison's entire journey, you recognize that it's actually really awful that our government would allow a person to live in pain. And, it's really disgusting. And it's a human rights violation, in my opinion. And so I don't think it's right that people are allowed to suffer, and that our government, in fact, forces people to, because they think it's not the right way to medicate. So yeah, like I think you mentioned before too, I made a note of it, education piece. Like this platform is super, but I think if we can all start to have conversations with people about this as well, like education is so critical to psychedelics becoming not only decriminalized, but normalized in our society. So yeah, for me, I always go from the personal experience. I want to share that because I think that's what really touches people. So that's my
Absolutely.
experience. And then when I'm a lawyer, I'll actually do it with some lawyering as well. So, yeah.
So there is a process. If we wanted to come to one of the lawyers, take your pick on the corner that you go to, either Jack or DePaul. It's both the same firm. Is there? I guess I'll switch it over to one of you guys now. So once I've spoken to Henria and we've gotten all our stories out, and she says yes, I believe that she is a candidate for a Section 56. Is there paperwork that I do from there? What's the next steps?
Well, the government's not there. They've been they're a little vague as to what you have to submit. So there are no rules as to what you have to submit. The test is it has to be medically necessary in order to exempt you. So you got to show you've got a serious health issue. You've tried everything, and nothing's working, and you believe this will work. Or if you're brave enough and you say, "Look, I've tried it before. I'll tell the government I've tried it before, and it's working for me." So the paperwork would be just really a cover letter saying that you're seeking the exemption. In Alison's case, we have something we just called it a statement, in which it's a typed up version of her experiences. Sometimes people will get a letter from their doctor. But that's it. There's no form. It's very informal. There's no.
So it's not a long drawn out process. It's basic standard stuff, and as long as the doctor says that you've tried everything and you jump through all the hoops, then you just submit then.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no rule saying you have to have a letter from your doctor, so you could do it without that too. So.
I went to my member.
But if you have a doctor that's on board, I mean, that's got to give some weight.
Sure. Yeah. No. If you can get that letter, then add it. Absolutely. But if not, then there's no rules saying you can't submit without that letter. But
cool.
Just on that note,
well, that's good to know. Sorry, Alison, go ahead.
Sorry, Kim. I just wanted to say quickly that for my first cannabis license, cannabis exemption in 1994, I went to my member of parliament after my doctor had, told me that, I had asked him where I could legally have the, get the use of this in the country. And he had suggested, I'd gone to Alan. I'm not even sure if I knew Alan Young then. But anyway, in and around those days, I ended up going to my member of parliament at one point, and they had directed me to the Section 56 paperwork through their office. So that is another avenue. If people cannot find the paperwork or have, the number of their member of parliament, make those people work. They work for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we're going to come back with more from Alison on Section 56, more from our lawyers and our soon-to-be lawyer talking about psychedelic medicine, the law, Section 56 exemptees, and so much more when we come back from our break. Everybody's going to go down into the lobby, and we'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. Just stay tuned.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticulture.
Oh no, I removed the wrong one. Have a good laugh at me. I'll be right back.
Making a sale. Family owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CP.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And we're back with a little pop in from Cindy mid-commercial break.
I'm trying to click too many buttons over here, but I got her back going on. We're good.
Oh, that's hilarious. I mean, we're just going to call tonight's episode the glitch episode. I think that's appropriate at this point. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong in this evening's episode, but we're pushing through because we got the lawyers in the house. So we got to push through. Let's bring them all back. Cindy, we got Jack Lloyd. We got Paul Lewin. We got Henria Stephens. And we've got Alison Myrden with us, exemptee extraordinaire.
No trouble at all. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Oh, that was too cute. That was too cute. Cindy pops in and she's like, oh, no, that's not supposed to happen. That was too cute.
At least I didn't come out with a Newfie accent, so we're okay.
Yeah, we didn't do that. We should have done that. We'll do it at the end of the show after you've got all your nerves taken care of. Before we left, we were talking Section 56 exemptees, and we were talking court cases that are going on. Paul, hopefully you seem like the signal's a little bit more stable now, so I want to bring it back to you again. Let's go back and talk a little bit more about Jerry Martin and his case. You were quite excited there when we lost your signal. You were quite passionate. I want to give you an opportunity to do that all over again.
Yeah, well, freedom of thought, it's mindfulness, it's compassion, it's creativity. It means that you don't have to be on your deathbed. Even healthy people can benefit from it. And it can be microdosing too. It doesn't. It can be a little bit in the afternoon that makes you functional with a little more pop. So we should be allowed to use it. It's not necessarily for people. You don't have to have a severe health issue. this section 2 under the charter, it's not freedom of religion, it's not freedom of expression, it's freedom of thought, maybe one of the most important rights there has been. It's going to be a super cool case. It's really Jerry Martin's baby. So like when I say call someone, Jerry's the guy you got to call. He's been the one who's like organizing this thing, and it's going to be massive, and we're super pumped about it. So actually I wanted to say two things quickly about Section 56 before we leave that. Number one, by the way, you don't have to get a lawyer or be a lawyer to submit one. Anyone can just write to the government and say, I use this, it works for me. Shoot, give me the exemption. So I don't feel like you really need to go see a lawyer. And the other thing I wanted to say is Jack and I were on this case in Alberta, for, Sean Howell 2 years ago. I don't know if you guys know Sean.
Yep.
Great guy who was providing for a number of people. Lisa Kirkman was one of them. He had this stepdaughter who had this beautiful young girl who had this terrible epilepsy, needed strong oils that you can't buy from LPs. And the judge heard the whole case, and he said, like, of course he should be allowed to provide these oils. They had no good reason why strong extracts couldn't be permitted. And he also had issues about the way homeless people can't access the system. But the reason I bring this case up is the government said, oh, even if you find the system is broken, Mr. Howell could have always applied for a Section 56, so that means everything is fine. And we said, no, it's not fine. And they pointed to the Insight decision. I don't know if you guys remember the PHS decision that went to the Supreme Court of Canada.
Yep.
And they had like an insane amount of resources and government. They had government bodies backing them. And like they're saying every person of modest means is supposed to hire like lawyers and consultants and experts and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, are you kidding me? This thing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting because the government was saying, oh, Section 56s, they work so fine. Everybody, no, we have nothing to worry, nothing to see here. Everything's fine. So like if they're looking at these applications kind of like, well, I'm not sure if you've really proved you have health issues, Ms. Myrden. Like, you know, this is the same government who stood up in court and said that they're really easy to get. So I just wanted to point that out. Well,
if they're that easy to get, we should all apply.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And by the way, if Kim, you do apply, let us know. We'd like to,
I'm going to.
I'm going to see my doctor tomorrow and get her to do a letter as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to talk because both Cindy and I want to apply.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Good. Let us know if you need a look. Anyway, absolutely. This is not a tough process. So.
Both Cindy and I want to apply for sure.
Like your doctor is such a resource if they're willing and able to draft that. Like you can absolutely do it on your own, but
she's not just willing and able. She's absolutely excited. She's been waiting for me to find out the way to do it. And when I tell her that tomorrow it's all about writing a letter, it'll be something that she puts heart and passion into. And I'm really excited.
So great. That's what'll make this so great. If both Cindy and I we're very excited about this show for personal reasons because we both want to do this, and we're both on opposite ends of the spectrum. So it'll be a cool sort of little experiment that we can do personally here on the show. Cindy has 100% backing from a registered psychiatrist that has been treating her for a number of years. I have nothing. I have no doctor. I have me, right? So we're both going to put the application in from different avenues, and let's see what happens.
So Cindy, when you go to your doctor, the key words you want to ask your doctor should say that it's medically necessary. That's what you want your doctor to get in there somewhere, as well as a bunch of other good stuff.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, and she's like, and she's watched me I've been with her for it'll be 8 years in January, and she has watched what cannabis did for me first, and then psilocybin, and then recently I went and did some spirit walk medicine, and the change was just night to day, and she's very much on board with plant medicine. It's really exciting.
Cindy has advanced into the realms of iboga.
Okay.
She did an iboga journey.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's
With
neat.
it,
I
with
don't
a
think
supportive
iboga, I
doctor.
was going to say apply for an iboga exemption, except I don't think it's prohibited under the CDSA. I'm not.
I believe it is. That my guide told me that it was here not very long ago, so it's something that I'm going
It's
to
a
look into.
recent
Yeah, it's a
addition.
recent thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a recent addition.
What's it described as in there? It's not a ibogaine or iboga.
Well, ibogaine is a portion as an element of iboga.
Yeah, it's total alkaloid iboga.
I'm wondering what they call it in the Drug Act, though, because
like it's not on the prescription drug list. So, but I think.
Oh, you know, Jack, I think it is on the prescription drug list. It's a strange thing, but I'm almost positive it's on the prescription drug list.
Oh, you're right. Actually, I think it was added after 2017. I'm incorrect. That's right, because there were complaints because ibogaine clinics had been opening, and people started making complaints about it, and then they added it to the prescription drug list so that they could they would have oversight over it. So it's I guess it's, although not technically authorized, it's not strictly prohibited. I guess that's the distinction. Does that make sense?
I think it's not prohibited. I
agree, it's not prohibited.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
But it's also not legal.
Authorized.
Yeah.
It's like a negative, like a double negative right or whatever. But you're right. Actually, I think it was added to after 2017. I remember all the clinics that kept popping up in. I should have said nothing. I had nothing to add to that other than that I had the incorrect memory of the history of its regulation.
I love Jack Lloyd. Jack Lloyd, man, gotta love him. Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting thing, the way they add these things, you know. Mushrooms weren't part of it until it became a popular thing that people were using as medicine. And then all of a sudden it was added, psilocybin. And now we see, as your discussion just proved, iboga being added along the way when clinics popped up. Right? So as people gravitate towards these elements in nature for therapy, the government, that's when they decide, oh, no, you can't do that. You're getting too popular. That's a really big red flag for me.
Well, yeah, we got to keep the government busy remembering to make things illegal. So, we didn't make that illegal. Let's make that a crime too.
Yeah.
But of course, the Food and Drug Act, actually, even if it's not listed in the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, if it's a drug in any way, the Food and Drug Act. There were a group who were selling some drug that wasn't listed at all in the CDSA a couple of years back, and they got convicted under the Food and Drug Act, which is very rare. But
wow.
So if it's a drug, if it does anything and it's not legal, you can be convicted. Yeah.
Right. So they just keep expanding that act, you know, and to encompass everything in nature.
Yeah, for sure. If it came from nature and it makes you feel good, they gotta shut it down. So
yeah, so sad, you know, so sad. Personally, I'm still on the psilocybin train. I use psilocybin regularly. I'm a microdoser, but I'm going to change directions on how I do that. You know, as I said in the beginning, Cindy and I are both on our journeys, but we're doing things very differently. She has the way she does things, and I sort of had the way I did things, and they were on opposite end of the spectrum. Cindy is very regimented. She likes to know her milligrams, and she chops them all up into a powder and puts them in her capsules, and every dose is exactly the same. And I take my bag of mushrooms that I grew, and I pull one out, and I go, yeah, that looks about right. And I eat it.
which is how I do a macro dose, but not the same as you, right?
So, and we've both been on this journey. So now, recently, I've just disclosed to Cindy actually today, I'm going to change direction a little bit. And this latest batch of mushrooms that I've just recently grown, once I get a gauge for how strong they are, because every batch is a little bit different, once I get a gauge for how strong these ones are, I'm going to try capsuling them and doing precision dosing and that kind of thing, just to see if there's a difference in the overall medicinal effects mentally that I have long term, as opposed to the way that I'm doing it now. I bring this up because I want to speak to anybody here that is also using psilocybin or other psychedelics. What do you do? Do you do the precise dosing, or do you do the, oh, that looks good?
Actually, I think I'm the only one who can legally say anything there.
Probably. Go ahead, Alison.
Cindy, I'm just like you, honey. I started using actually psilocybin or magic mushrooms through my neurologist over 30 years ago, Kim.
Yeah.
I just didn't tell anybody when we were going through all the cannabis stuff. I was like, oh, I'll tell them later, because I knew people would have a problem with it then. So what we did was try to educate the country about cannabis and make them okay with it. And now here we are with psychedelics. Now, with microdosing psychedelics or putting them in capsules, we suggest if people want to microdose, there's 2 to 3 milligram per capsule that people could start with. And what I've found in the research I've done is that a third of the people will find it'll make probably a pretty big difference after a period. If they do it for 30 days, it could last up to 6 months, if not more, the feeling they get. And that's for depression, anxiety, and those sorts of things, mental health issues. For also, if you wanted to increase it, and what I suggest people do again is chart it as they're doing it, so they can turn to their doctor and say, hey, this is what I found. I didn't really like it at this amount, but I certainly felt good at that amount, so that way they can gauge exactly what your issues are, if you have any health issues at all. And if not, tell your doctor anyway. It shouldn't be hidden. It shouldn't be a secret. I've always tried to tell people this. This is why I've always said your doctors are there for a reason. If they don't agree with you, who cares?
That's right. They work for you.
They can watch, and then they can watch you every time you come and go. On that note, just quickly, I went into my neurologist yesterday, whom I haven't seen for a year, a new neurologist, and she was so blown away. She knows all about the mushrooms. And again, I have 50 grams a day. I think I had 20 grams at least by the time I saw her at 10:30 yesterday morning or Monday morning. Ran literally into her office, jumped up on the, whatever you call it, I can't remember. I can't even flip and get out of a wheelchair if I don't have mushrooms. So difference is, not only does it give people like me energy, because it again switches something in your brain to the word on. And all of a sudden we're back in action and we're part of a normal society.
Absolutely. I know for myself, when I consume the mushrooms, microdosing, I have higher energy that day. If I do a proper microdose, if I don't do, a large microdose, if I do a proper microdose, all it does is higher energy that day. Better mood, walking around with a big ass smile on my face. Nobody's shitting in my cornflakes today, right? And you're just in a better place mentally. You're just in a better place. And that effect can last for days.
You know what, again, in studies I've read, Kim, and I've done a lot of reading over the decades, and I've been retired from corrections, all on drug law reform issues. And when I read about people having relief, bless you, God bless you. When I read about people having relief, for instance, from cluster headaches, which is what I seem to have trouble with all that time, it's driving me insane right now. but at least I'm not digging at my face like I normally do and have for almost 30 years, 24 hours a day because of psilocybin. So I want people to understand there are medical uses, and it makes your brain, again, you normally have, say, I don't know, I'm guessing, just use the number, 50 connections in your brain from one side to the other, and they connect. When you use psilocybin, there are so many connections in your brain, you cannot count them. It is absolutely unbelievable.
Everything is right there. You know, like shit just comes, you're happy, and everything is firing on all cylinders. And it's just, it makes life easier to think.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Now, the way I've been using it personally for the last 2 years, I've been microdosing and macrodosing with psilocybin. Macrodosing when the need arises, and I always know when that need is there. I become more depressed. Things bother me more. Going into my shell more. I really get my big heads up when I let my housework go. That's my big red flag. Uh-oh. What's going on? You didn't give a shit about doing the dishes. Why is that? Because that's something that I give a shit about. So, you know, when I don't, it's like, that's the big red flag. Okay, you're sinking. So it's time to do a macrodose because the microdoses aren't cutting it, or perhaps it's been too long since my last microdose. And that's where I was going with all of this, is that's the other difference between Cindy and I. She was regimented on dates. It's like, okay, 3 times a week, this is what's going to happen. Every 3 days, this is what's going to happen. I'm taking this microdose. Where I would use my microdose and I would think, my brain and my body will let me know when I need another one. And I would let myself be the cue for that rather than a regimented dose. And as soon as I would start feeling a little bit lower, it's like, oh, it's time for microdose. Sometimes that would be 3 days. Sometimes it would be a week. And I would take a microdose and I would be fine. But I found with that sort of regiment, which is, I know a lot of other people out there do the same thing that I do, which is why I talk about it. But I am finding now, when life gets hectic and when life gets busy, you'll forget to microdose. And now it's been too long. And that's when you wind up sinking into the depression. And it's like the red flags are going off. Okay, I need a reset now. I got to do a macrodose and then I got to start again. So I don't necessarily think that what I've been doing it for the last 24 months is a very good thing. I think perhaps more of a regimented thing would be beneficial rather than just winging it.
Yeah, where I use a medical, like a pill, thing, and I, have a reminder on my phone, like dose tomorrow morning and everything. Yeah. Every 3 days, light clockwork, and it made a huge difference when I was doing it.
Yeah.
Since the iboga, I've been microdosing that way, but when that runs out, I will go back to psilocybin for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the changes I see as a reflection, the changes in me in the last 10 years. I met, Paul and Jack almost 10 years ago. It was 8 or 9 years ago that I met them for the first time. When I met these guys, I was on 150 milligrams of fentanyl. I was taking Percodon as a supplement to that. And I was on a half a dozen different antidepressants and, other medications that were fucking with my head from my car accident. 16 pills a day and 150 milligrams of fentanyl. And I was starting to come off of all of that when I met these guys. Those days were pretty tumultuous, man. I was a bit of a wing nut, I was pretty out there a lot of the times, out of control and trying to get control of my situation. But in meeting these guys, that brought me back into the world of cannabis as medicine, which I had left for, a number of years and fell into the pharmaceutical pit of hell. And, meeting these guys was the launching pad to me getting away from all of that. Finally, I got off all the bloody meds and used nothing exclusively, just cannabis instead of cannabis as a supplement. And now advancing that into the world of psychedelics, I mean, the avenues that this opens in your mind, the self-confidence and the calm that the natural therapy has brought to my brain and to my life is extraordinary to where I was 10 years ago on pharma.
Well, I remember, Kim, you doing lots of good work with Normal Canada. And, I'll add, I think there's a lot of people who, some of the most passionate cannabis activists are those who have seen the real terrible things that pharmaceuticals can do. And they're like, you know what, like, we got something special here with cannabis. As well as the psychedelics, which... And you were asking about psilocybin. I mean, I think one of the most marvelous things about it on a personal level and is, at times it seems like I never have an original thought. And I just have like a Rolodex of comments that I make depending on the situation that comes up. And it seems like it's a rare time in which I think original thoughts. But there is, you mentioned lawyers talking about this stuff. And, I know there's a little bit of a worldwide movement that people should generally just be a little more at ease with admitting who they are. And that's a part of what you are. Like, don't be, I mean, I know we have a regulator, but I think we can also, to some extent, admit who we are. So,
yeah.
Why hide?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I so appreciate people like you guys, coming forward and being there for patients and non-patients alike, just seeing what is right and saying, somebody's got to do something. And you two guys, man, you've been at the forefront of that for a while.
Oh, well, nice of you to say. It's a work of passion. Jack's currently the president of Normal Canada. So as Kim, for sure, John Conroy was long. John, I think John was like president since like the mid 70s.
Yeah, forever.
So he is one person older than me in cannabis. But Jack is now the president of Normal. So it's nice to know it's in good hands. Jack, Normal's rocking these days.
Absolutely. Certainly, we're continuing our good work at leveling the playing field for the cannabis community, certainly. I've been thinking, Kim, with what you were talking about with your ability to access psychedelic medicine and sort of how it related to Henria's comments about it's kind of this interesting, it almost came into my mind because I was talking about the prescription drug list. My beef with the prescription drug list, sorry, I'm going back to my total error, but once you're added to the prescription drug list, you can be charged for possessing the substance. So although you technically would be entitled to be prescribed it by your physician, prior to being on the prescription drug list, I don't think there exists an actual offense associated with the possession of the substance. So it's like a lot of things. Like I think with cannabis sometimes that it's legalized, but there are so many more ways to get in trouble with it. Like beyond either are you trafficking it? Okay, here's your charge. Now with cannabis, there's a whole bureaucratic state's worth of enforcement mechanisms to get you in trouble for like the cannabis plant and similarly. But what I guess, sorry to belabor the point, but what I loved about what Henria was saying was that what she was expressing was, how can the government stop you from accessing treatment that helps you? But I think that it goes a step beyond that. And that's kind of the core almost philosophical problem with prohibition, which is that they're not simply prohibiting you from accessing treatment. They're mandating an ineffective treatment and then bottling you into an exemption program that doesn't work. So that, I think, is like, that core and I'm enamored with Paul's position on Section 2 of the Charter as it relates to freedom of thought, because that, if you hang out with psilocybin users, that's the consistent refrain. And I've been having fun, like I'll be at a barbecue and some hyper conservative person will say, psilocybin melted my ego. And you're eating a hamburger going like, why are you, like, who says that? Like, it's like some banker. But I think it's, it's deeply true. But I think that as well, of course, Section 7 of the Charter, which protects our life, liberty, and security of the person, is so deeply engaged in situations where the government's prohibition isn't just prohibiting you from accessing that treatment, it's mandating a much more harmful treatment. And that's like Kim's experience, where these doctors are being encouraged to overprescribe opiates in a manner that puts hundreds of thousands of people at risk and destroys lives. It's utterly despicable. And so I think Henria was right on the money with that, because it's so far beyond a simple prohibition. It's mandating harm in a sense. And I think that when this stuff litigates, we're definitely going to make the government rue its decision to prohibit access to healing medicines like this.
You better believe it.
You go, boy. You go.
Yeah.
We're with you. We are so with you. Absolutely, 100%. It was a real roller coaster ride, and the progression that they put patients through. Speaking, of course, from personal experience, I mean, I went from having an intravenous given to me right immediately after my car accident, and when I was ejected from the hospital, finally, I was on high dose morphine at home. And after that rots your stomach, after a year or two of that, and your stomach is no good, then they say, oh, well, you shouldn't take such harsh pills, so we're going to put you on this patch. And you start off at like 25 milligrams, and within a year, you're at 100. And then in 2 years, you're at 150. And then the pills get added on top, of course, which is why you got the patch to start with, because the pills were rotting your gut. But of course, you still need 16 of those other pills to combat whatever else is going on. Half of those are, to alleviate, what do they call it? Symptoms of discomfort that are caused from the drug, right? So I mean, it's just a roller coaster ride, and anybody that's been injured that just buys into, well, the doctor knows what he's doing, you're screwed. You're screwed. As soon as you believe that the doctor knows what he's doing, then you're screwed. I just thank God that I had a support system that I had to realize what had taken place and to get me off of all of it.
But you're strong. You stood up and you spoke up, Kim. That's what did it. It wasn't so much everything else. It's the fact that people have to learn to stand up for themselves. They can't let people tell them what to do in any way, shape, or form. I am, again, of a legal background. And I do, again, believe that some laws can be challenged.
Absolutely.
So laws, again, are another issue. But I'm saying if, for instance, you're a patient or you have an issue of any kind medically and you're speaking to a doctor, don't let that doctor speak down to you. Speak up to that doctor and say, this is what I'm dealing with. This is the result I've had. And please, again, I don't want you to say you agree with me. I just would like for you to write it in my chart. Have a nice day, and I'll make my appointment for next month.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's why, when I was talking about that, I'm not sure where that would fall under the law, because I'm not a lawyer, but I know that psychedelic therapy can help a lot of people avoid a lot of those pitfalls that I fell into. And that's why what Jerry Martin's got going on is very exciting, and so is Section 56. Any patient that's out there, psychedelic medicine is very enlightening for, the third eye. It can help you see. It can help bring you peace of mind. It's very mindful uses, but there are also physical elements to this that can heal the body physically, and a lot of people are unaware of that. There are medicinal elements where you can get some physical healing going on as well. So don't discount psychedelics as a medicine, and that's why the new stuff coming up is very exciting to me. It could stop a lot of addiction in the future and could treat people with their current addiction.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it's really exciting that these medicines are finally making their way to people. The knowledge, and it's like Kim says, it's really exciting to be able to watch that happen and see that option be given to people that have addictions. Here's a way out that's not going to feel like it's totally tearing you apart. And we can help you heal.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the old timers on this podcast, is it my imagination, or I know everyone talks about psychedelics being big in the 60s and the early 70s, and we know they're big today, but is it my imagination, or they weren't really, they weren't as popular 20 years ago as they are today?
No, they weren't.
Oh, for sure. Today they're far more popular. They're popular with every age sect now. And it used to be just, every age sect and every walk of life is interested in psychedelics today. And back in the 60s and the 70s, well, the 70s was when I was experimenting with psychedelics. I don't think there's a psychedelic out there that I haven't tried at one time or another. I did live through the 70s. So, we all did it. But it was the hippies, and it was the partiers, and it was the people going to concerts and tripping, and it was that group of people that were experimenting with psychedelics then. Now it's everyone.
Right, but there was a big period there where they kind of fell off everyone. I won't say everyone's radar. I mean, there's some people who are seeking out everything. But anyway, I think it's interesting that they kind of went away a little bit for a while, but that they're back so big these days. Doing good.
We made the mainstream. Everybody here and everybody else talking about them made the mainstream. And again, Paul, now that cannabis is legal, don't forget, we all know this is the new frontier of medicine, everybody. And again, mushrooms or psilocybin is only the beginning, because again, Paul, as you know, and Jack and Henria, there are so many people using so many psychedelics. It's all underground. Again, I've been using them for over 30 years, and I have.
It went quiet. Yeah, it went quiet. The mainstream media didn't have a hold of it. So
it was underground. We knew where it was, on heroin.
Yeah.
No, we knew the places to go, right? So, and all I'm saying is now that it's become sort of more acceptable for mainstream society, one thing I did want to say too is that psilocybin, I was doing a big speak at a licensed producer in London. I can't remember the LP. But anyway, when I was speaking there, I was sitting on at the top of the room, and I remember looking to my left, and I could see this chart on the wall. They had an overhead, and behind the person who was at the podium, I could see the word magic mushrooms right at the bottom of the chart. And the chart was an addictions chart. And it started at the very top with heroin and things like that.
Oh, God.
Being the most addictive, magic mushrooms or psilocybin were right off the page. They were so safe. And that's all I want to say to people is that magic mushrooms or psilocybin at any amount is safer than cannabis in that respect. It's not addictive. And the more people learn about these substances, the more they'll learn if they have a problem with any substances that aren't addicted, it's because they have a personality that's making them want those substances continuously.
That's right. That's right.
That chart, I believe, I know that chart, and it's, of course, psilocybin is even lower than, of course, tobacco, and of course, caffeine. And the guy who did it, it's a guy in England. His last name's Nutt. I wish I could remember his first name.
Oh, I know Professor Nutt. He follows me on social media.
Oh, he's great. And he got in trouble because of his research. He was like for the working for the British government. And he was like, well, what I found is actually quite safe. And they were like, well, wait, that's not what we want. And he actually got fired because he said he came to the conclusion it was actually quite safe. But like he's now in the well-respected.
I didn't realize his
How many government studies didn't turn out the way they wanted, right?
A lot. Yeah, a lot.
Many of my friends.
Yeah. We've seen that all over the place. That's for sure. All right, folks. It's been great chatting with you all. We've been on the air for just over 90 minutes. I'm going to have you all back on again for a follow-up show. Let's let things progress over the next few months. We'll bring you back on where I can actually broadcast from my house, not from my car. And and we'll have another great discussion. It has been an absolute pleasure. I would like to give everybody an opportunity for a shout out. Please tell us how to get a hold of you, or give acknowledgement or something to anything that you choose. Let's start off with the Queen, Alison. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly, and thank you, Cindy. It was a beautiful night tonight, everybody, and thank you, of course, Jack, Paul, and Henria, my little angel. I just want to say again, I have a website at my name, AlisonMyrden.ca in Canada, or .com if you're anywhere else in the world. AlisonMyrden. It's pronounced Myrden, like burden, but I promise, again, I'm no trouble at all. Lastly, I would like to say one more thing. Please join the journey.
Absolutely. Much love, Alison. Thank you so much. Jack Lloyd, man.
Thank you all so much. This was really fun and enlightening as always, and I just appreciate everybody hanging out. So thank you so much. If you'd like to talk about psychedelics regulation, or about a Section 56 exemption application, or about any regulated or unregulated substances. I'm like obsessed now with what unregulated means. But you should come to our website, canpsylaw.com, canscilaw.com, Cannabis and Psychedelics Law Group. So you can come check us out there, or I'm on Twitter as Jack Lloyd Lawyer. And I just look forward to talking with more cool people about psilocybin in the coming days.
Cool. Very cool. Mr. Paul Lewin.
Well, thanks, you guys. This rocked. Super glad you guys are raising the profile of important matters like this. And so I'm just going to have the same shout out as Jack. He said the website. So Cannabis and Psychedelics Law Group. And this is our focus. So love to hear from you and help you out. And actually, if there's any other shout out, call Jerry Martin and tell him you agree with them on freedom of thought. We want to know how you can help. So.
Perfect. And Henria, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to have you here as well. Shout out from you.
I'm on LinkedIn now, so you can find me there, or at my just if you check my name, Henria, Henria Stephens with a PH. I have a LinkedIn profile where you can get my email address. And hopefully I'll have more of a social media presence in the next little while. But I just want to say it's really great energy this evening, and I really love the solidarity. So I just hope that we can continue to advocate for each other to get this message out to as many people as possible. And I'm willing to do that for anybody in any capacity, creatively, until I can do it in a legal, in a legal way. So, yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us here tonight on Open Your Eye, a look at psychedelic therapy now in 2021 here on the Pace Radio Network. I'd like to thank my joint host, Miss Cindy Howell, that did a fantastic job running the board today and taking over the feed for me during all of my technical difficulties. You are amazing. And of course, to our emperor, Mr. Al Graham, for broadcasting this on the Pace Radio Network. We love being here, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another special guest and another 1.5-hour broadcast here on Pace Radio. Love it, and love the energy for tonight from everybody. Cindy, that's all yours. Take her away. Peace out, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Join the journey.
Yeah.
Woo!
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
The People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network provides its listeners with news, information, and a place to be heard. This is done with a twice-weekly broadcast of the Reefer Reporters and by providing cannabis advocates a place to be heard through Cannabis and Coffee to Marijuana and the award-winning Pace Radio Show. Catch it all here at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
What is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network? It's a network of people advocating cannabis education.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CP.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
the only way to go.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.